Today we're taking a tour of Disney World's Magic Kingdom. This is day 5 of your 10 days to a better Disney World vacation. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 13 of the Go Inform podcast. Today, we are going to the Magic Kingdom in Disney World. I'm really excited to take you guys on a tour around the entire Magic Kingdom theme park. Today, we're going to talk about some of my favorite highlights, things to do, see, eat, things to hear, and even some of the smells that you're going to find here in the Magic Kingdom. So this is day 5 of our series, 10 Days to a Better Disney World Vacation. And if you guys are just jumping in on this episode and it's the first one you've listened to, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I highly encourage you to go back and start at episode 9 after you finish listening to today's episode, because in all of these 10 days, in these 10 episodes, I'm spending time to give you guys a real basic kind of big picture understanding of a lot of the different nuances and things that you're going to need to know when you're planning your vacation and to help you have a better vacation. So be sure to check out the other episodes. And these episodes are publishing every day right now for a 10-day period. So if you are actually one of the lucky first people to hear this, make sure you hit the subscribe button on your podcast app so you'll get tomorrow's episode, which will be a tour of Epcot, and all the rest of the episodes in the series. So let's start out with just a little bit of history about the Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom was the first theme park to open in Disney World. It opened in 1971, and a lot of people think of the Magic Kingdom as being basically like another version of Disneyland, which in some ways is true. There's a lot of similarities. They have a lot of the same rides, and they both have a castle, and a lot of the layouts similar, but there's also quite a few differences too. The Magic Kingdom at Disney World is bigger than at Disneyland, for one thing, and a really important thing to say here is that the Magic Kingdom at Disney World is in the Disney bubble. So this is a term that you're going to hear a lot when people talk about Disney World. And it's one of the terms actually that I mentioned in the second day of this series when we talked about common words and phrases. But the Disney bubble refers to the idea that even if you step out of the theme park, you're still in this kind of magical Disney world. And the thing about this is the difference between this and Disneyland is that at Disneyland, as soon as you step out of the park, you're on a busy street with traffic and all kinds of billboards and hotels, and just it's the real world. It's Los Angeles, basically. So after Walt built Disneyland, he saw that this was becoming a problem. When they first built Disneyland, there was nothing else there, just a bunch of farms. But of course, as soon as it was built, it attracted all kinds of other things around it, and a kind of a city sprung up around it. And Walt didn't want his guests to be in the park and be able to see a billboard or a highway, a ramp, or anything like that from being inside Disneyland. He really wanted to keep the magic and allow people to have a place where they could just not have to deal with the real world for a while. So not long before his death, he started talking about a way to how they could do that. And there was no way they were going to be able to undo all the development that happened in Anaheim around Disneyland. But what they decided to do was buy a huge amount of property in Florida and build a world, literally Disney World, that would keep the guests immersed in that even when they're not inside the theme park. So that's a long way of saying that the Magic Kingdom is different from Disneyland, because when you are on your way, even traveling to the Magic Kingdom, whether you stayed there that night at one of the nearby hotels or you stayed somewhere else in Orlando, you're still going to have quite a long time that you're in the Disney property and you're in the Disney bubble before you even get to the gate at Magic Kingdom. And one thing I should mention about that too is that that also means Magic Kingdom's kind of its own thing when it comes to getting there. There's a lot of ways that you can approach the gate at Magic Kingdom. There's a monorail, there's buses, there's boats. You can go to the Magic Kingdom even by foot if you happen to be staying in the Contemporary Hotel that's next door. I'm not going to go into all those details today, but it is important to know that getting to the Magic Kingdom itself is something you're going to want to know about before your day that you're going there. So we'll talk more about that on the last day of this 10-day series. We're going to talk about your first day in the parks and some of the logistics about getting there and all of that. And I may even do a future episode just about getting to Magic Kingdom, because there are a lot of nuances there and there's a lot of ways you can get there, and knowing about them ahead of time is really helpful. But we're just going to magically appear at the front gate today and not worry about any of that transportation stuff. It's a very rainy, cold day where I am today, and I'm super excited to be talking about this and thinking about going to the Magic Kingdom. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to take you on a virtual tour. I've got my park map right here, and we're going to hit the streets and go into the park and walk around and talk about lots of the attractions here. I encourage you, if you want to follow along and you're not driving a car right now, go over to the show notes, which you can get at goinform.net/13. And I'm going to put a link there to the Disney page where you can actually download a actual park map. So you can get a PDF of the same park map that they hand out when you walk in through the gate. And that's the park map that I'm going to be following. You can also look at park maps before you get to Disney World. You can see the park maps either on the My Disney Experience app, the Disney World app that you can get for your phone. There's virtual maps there and tons of information. Or if you look on almost anywhere on the Disney World website, if you go and click on Magic Kingdom and click on attractions or dining or anything like that, you'll see a link to a map there too. So lots of places where you can find a map and start dreaming about what you want to do first when you get to the park. All right, let's go in. So just to give you sort of a lay of the land, the Magic Kingdom is located on the edge of a lake, and the monorail runs around the lake. There's some hotels around the lake and some other parking lot and stuff like that. So guests are going to end up coming in either off the lake, off the monorail, off the bus, right to the front gate of the park. So as we're looking at the gate, behind us is the lake and the monorail tracks. In front of us is the Magic Kingdom train station. The train station, actually, the train is kind of elevated at this point when you're looking at the park. So you're going to look up, you're going to see an old-fashioned looking train station. You might see the train going by. It's a steam train. It's beautiful. And if you looked right below where the train tracks are, there's a gorgeous landscaping where it's a flower bed that looks like a Mickey Mouse. You're going to see lots of Mickeys in this park especially. So make sure if you can, stop and take a picture here. It's a really, really good spot to get your first picture at Magic Kingdom. Now, you can't go through the gate and go straight ahead because the train station's there. So what you have to do is either go to the right or left, and there's a short tunnel that runs underneath the train tracks. So we're going to walk through the tunnel, and then as we emerge out of the tunnel, we're going to see Main Street USA, and at the end of Main Street is the castle. So Main Street is designed to look like a turn of the century small town Main Street in a kind of middle America. And it is a lot like the Main Street at Disneyland if you have been to Disneyland before, but there are some differences, and the castle is quite a lot different, actually. So the castle that you're going to see at the end of the street is much bigger than the castle at Disneyland. And this castle is Cinderella's castle. So little bit of trivia for you. That is the princess who lives in the castle at Magic Kingdom. So we are obviously drawn towards walking down this street to see the castle. But before we do, I want to pause for a second and just tell you a little bit about Main Street USA and about this kind of courtyard that we've walked into as we've emerged out from underneath the train station. First of all, just talking about the train station, if you were to turn around right here, you would see some stairs leading up to the platform where you can go and get on the Disney World Railroad. And that's free. Everything that I'm talking about here is included in your admission. So if you want to go and ride the railroad around the park first thing, you can just step right up there and hop on and go for a ride. Other things that you're going to see here in this part of Main Street, to your left, you're going to see City Hall. So City Hall is the home of the guest relations people. So if you need any help with anything on your day here at the Magic Kingdom, just come back to City Hall and they can help you with anything from, if you're having an issue with your ticket or you need help with fast passes or you just need a Band-Aid, go over to City Hall and they will fix you up. Now, to your right, as you're standing looking at the castle, are some large buildings, and this is where you can meet Mickey Mouse and you can meet Tinkerbell. So that's something else that you can do here on Main Street. So Main Street's really known for shopping, dining, and also just for the atmosphere and some of the nifty little decorations that you're going to find along Main Street. In terms of shopping and food, if you are standing there looking at the castle, on our left, walking up the street is a huge store called the Emporium. The Emporium has every kind of souvenir you could imagine and even some treats and stuff in there. The Emporium runs the entire length of Main Street, even though when you're walking up the street, it looks like there's a bunch of different storefronts there on your left. It's all connected. And this is a really good thing to know if the street's busy, if there's a parade or something like that, and it's hard to get up the street, you can actually walk straight through the Emporium all the way to the end of Main Street. This is also really great if it's super hot outside or if it's pouring down rain, which does happen in Florida. So, know about the shortcut through the Emporium. It is a really good way to stay off the street. Now, on the other side of the street, there's some other really fun shops. First thing on the corner that you're going to see is the confectionery. The confectionery is an old-fashioned candy shop where you can see them making carameled apples and all kinds of treats, and you can buy all that sort of stuff there. You can also buy a lot of cool souvenirs for your house, for your kitchen. If you're looking for, coffee mugs or anything like that, the confectionery is going to be a place to look for that. Also on this side of the street is a shop called Crystal Arts. So Crystal Arts has glass and crystal jewelry and knickknacks and that sort of thing. It's the kind of place where you can go and get some earrings without spending a lot of money, or you can spend a lot. You can even buy a Swarovski coated Cinderella castle here for something like $25,000. So the Crystal Arts is a really fun place to go in and browse around. And you got to see this castle. So stop in there at some point during your time in Magic Kingdom. Going a little farther up the street on the right-hand side, there is a bakery. Well, it says it's a bakery on the outside, but This is a Starbucks. So when you walk inside, it will pretty much look like any other Starbucks. But if you are looking for coffee, that's your stop. And at the end of the right side of the street, another good pick-me-up is at the Palace. There's an ice cream, just kind of an ice cream parlor that you can go in and order sundaes and ice cream cones and stuff, and it's really good. So that's another fun thing that's right here on Main Street. So now that we have reached the end of Main Street, we're closer to the castle, and we're in a big open space that is called the Hub. So this park was laid out in a style like a hub and spoke kind of idea. So the center of the park is the Hub, which is right in front of the castle. This is your photo spot, guys. You got to get some pictures here. You can get a great view of the castle here. And also from here, you can really go almost any direction and head into one of the themed lands at the Magic Kingdom. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a fairly hard left, and we are going to leave the Hub and head into Adventureland. Adventureland is kind of an exotic land theming. Adventureland is where you're going to find the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, the Jungle Cruise, the Enchanted Tiki Room. So a lot of these classic old Disney rides are here in Adventureland. As you walk into Adventureland, you cross a bridge and the landscape starts to change. It's a much more lush, sort of jungle-y kind of landscaping. The music changes. It's a lot of drums and that kind of thing. And of course, the architecture is changing too. It feels like you've gone into a jungle world, and it just feels exotic. So as we're walking into Adventureland, some of the things we're going to pass the Jungle Cruise on our left. The Tiki Room will be up ahead on the right. And also here is a restaurant I want to point out, which is the Jungle Navigation Company Limited Skipper Canteen. So that's quite a mouthful. I think most everybody just calls it Skipper Canteen. Skipper Canteen is one of my favorite restaurants in all of the Disney parks. It's a fairly new restaurant here. It's been open maybe a little over a year, and it is themed after the Jungle Cruise. So the theming at the Skipper Canteen is that the people who run the Jungle Cruise are also running the Skipper Canteen restaurant. So the theming inside it's super cool. There's all kinds of neat, weird knickknacks, lots of funny play on words. If you go check out the bookshelf, there's just puns galore. And the cast members who work here are all also like the Jungle Cruise skippers. So they are, they're really funny. They're kind of, sometimes they're kind of snarky. Like it's part of their routine to be the Jungle Cruise, captains. So, know that if you get weird treatment at this restaurant, that's actually part of it. It's part of the fun. And you'll hear a ton of puns. Like I said, even the menu is even funny. So I'll put a link to the Skipper Canteen menu in the show notes so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. The food here is really good too. You do have to kind of like more exotic flavors. This isn't where you're going to get pizza and hamburgers, but that's exactly why I think it's great, because you have a lot more choices here and it is really, really well made. Even the drinks are good. So if you are looking for a place to stop at Magic Kingdom for lunch or dinner, Skipper Canteen is a place I highly recommend that you get an advanced dining reservation for and go and check it out. I think you're going to really like it. Okay, enough talk about food. We're going to keep moving. Oh, well, one other food item here in Adventureland, and that is the Dole Whip. So a Dole Whip is a pineapple, kind of like a pineapple sherbet, I guess is a good way to say it. It's a soft serve, cold, fruity delicious dish of yummy, especially if you like pineapple. And you can get Dole Whips here over by the Tiki Room. So if that's something that's on your list of Disney must-dos, this is where you're going to find that. Now, as we walk past Skipper Canteen, past the Jungle Cruise, on our you're going to see a camel in front of you because there's a flying carpet ride. Watch out, the camel spits. So be aware of that. We're going to walk past that camel very carefully. And as we keep walking down this street, we're going to pass the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So make sure you check that one out. That's absolute classic, must do. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride has a really great gift shop. So if you ride the ride, you're going to come out right there and be in it. If you're just walking past, you can also just go in the gift shop. They don't just have Disney stuff in there. They have everything pirate, like really fun t-shirts and costume stuff and anything. You can get you can get a sword or a hook, like a Captain Hook hand sort of thing, and there you can get all kinds of stuff in there. So that's one shop that I really recommend you check out. We're going to keep on moving, so everybody follow me. We're going to keep moving down all the way to the end of Adventureland. So now we're going to be sort of skirting around the outside perimeter of the park a little bit, and we're going to veer. We're in that wheel part of the hub and spoke design. So we're going to kind of veer to the right. The street just sort of goes that way. And up ahead is Splash Mountain. So Splash Mountain is one of the most iconic rides here at Disney World. And if you don't mind getting a little bit wet, it is a really fun ride. It is going to be right up here. The entrance to it is, we're going to walk all the way almost past it because the entrance is going to be around the back side of it. So as we walk and we can see the boats coming down Splash Mountain, we're going to just keep on walking. And then if you want to ride the ride, you just take a left around this back side of it and you'll find the entrance to it. Also back here is the Frontierland station for the Disney World Railway. So if you want to get on the train here, you can. The train station here is designed like Frontierland because that's what we're in now. And if you had got on the train at Main Street, you could just ride it here. This would be the first stop. You could ride it here and hop right onto Splash Mountain if you want to. So that's right back here too. We're not going to ride the train right now. So we're going to just kind of keep on walking. As we keep walking along the path here, there's another mountain that we're going to see, and that's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is a fun roller coaster that's not too intense. So if you've got people in your group who aren't like, they don't want to go upside down or backwards or something, the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad might be okay for them. It is really, it shakes you around a lot though. So I will say anybody who doesn't want to be like really kind of shaking around and slide around their seat, this might not be for them. Everybody else, as long as you're tall enough to ride it, I think you have a really fun time. So that's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the path just kind of dead ends. That's as far as we can go around this part of the rim of the park. So we're going to turn around and we're going to head back, but we're not going to backtrack too far. We're going to head into the rest of Frontierland. Okay, so as we turn around from Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, one thing that you may have noticed, so now we're facing the other way. So Splash Mountain is on our right. To the left, as we walk up back past Splash Mountain, is a waterway, and this is called Rivers of America, and this is part of Frontierland. And in the middle of the waterway, there's an island, and it's called Tom Sawyer Island. And this is one of those old original things that even Walt Disney had his hand in. There's a similar island in Disneyland, and they just modeled this after that one. You can go on a raft across the waterway to get to the island. And there's all kinds of things to explore over here. There's old abandoned mines and there's tunnels to go through and lots of neat things. And it's kind of park-like over here. So it can be kind of peaceful if you want to get away from the crowds, and there's trees and stuff so you can get into the shade. Take the raft over to Tom Sawyer Island and just explore for a little while. It's also nice for kids because they can, kind of feel like they can just do some free play over here and explore rather than just standing in a line. So this is a good place to blow off a little bit of steam too. So the rafts, you get on the rafts kind of opposite where Splash Mountain is. There's a boardwalk, and you go down to the boardwalk and you can find the entrance to the rafts. Now, we're not going to go on the rafts because it's a walking tour and we're not riding anything right now. But in your mind, I want you to be thinking about what here really speaks to you and what you want to make sure that you get to do when you go on your trip. So we're going to walk back to where we came up to Splash Mountain from the other direction, and we're not going to go all the way back by the Pirates ride. We're going to take a left and walk up the Main Street part of Frontierland. So this looks like an old dusty western town. Along here, you're going to find the Country Bear Jamboree, which is another classic attraction. There's also a trading post here, which is a really good place to get pins if you're wanting to buy some of the Disney pins. That's a really great place in the Magic Kingdom to look for them. I'll try to do an episode in one of my future episodes about pin trading. It's a really fun thing to do and great souvenir. So after you stopped at the trading post, let's keep on walking. We're just kind of going to follow along where the waterway is. To our left, you're probably going to see a big paddle wheeler boat, and that's the Liberty Belle. It goes around Tom Sawyer Island, and you can get on it and ride it in our next kind of land of Magic Kingdom, which is called Liberty Square. So somewhere between that trading post and the Liberty Belle boat, the music is going to change, and you're probably not even going to notice it, but now it's going to be marching music, like patriotic Sousa kind of marching band kind of music. And I bet you're going to find that your step got faster, because I always noticed I walk faster when I hear that music in Liberty Square. So try to pay attention and see if you can figure out exactly when it changes. But as you walk into this Liberty Square part of the park, this is designed to look like a colonial town around the time of the American Revolution. So really look at the architecture here. You'll see a lot of really interesting details, the shutters on the windows and stuff like that. They really tried to be authentic with this stuff. So in Liberty Square, there's a few attractions, and there's also some restaurants and some cool shopping. So a couple things to point out here. One is a restaurant called the Liberty Tree Tavern. So Liberty Tree Tavern is the kind of place where you get Thanksgiving dinner for every meal every day of the year. They serve the food family style. Dinner is always like this. At lunch, you can choose to have this option. And it is a platter full of meat. So there's roast turkey. Usually it's turkey for sure. And then like a pork roast and like a roast beef. And you also get mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy, cranberry sauce, salad, a bowl of salad, and really good rolls too, dinner rolls. And they just bring it all out family style, and it's all you can eat. So if you want more stuffing, they'll bring you more stuffing. Oh, there's macaroni and cheese too. I just remember. Anyway, Liberty Tree Tavern, if you're looking for some comfort food, it might seem crazy to eat a big, huge meal like that when you're, going on these roller coasters and stuff. So, be aware of what you're going to do after you eat here. But sometimes it's just the perfect thing, because when you're traveling like this, you spend a lot of time kind of eating on the go and not sitting down and having a full meal. And The meal at Liberty Tree Tavern is guaranteed to just be satisfying. I mean, it is hearty and it's good too. And we really like going to Liberty Tree Tavern for dinner when we go to Magic Kingdom. It's a fun place to stop and rest and have something that we don't usually eat at home. Another option, now this is kind of a quick option, that's sort of the opposite here in Liberty Square, sort of around kind of behind where the Liberty Tree Tavern is, kind of by the Hall of Presidents. There is a little quick service place. It's just a window where you go and order. It's called Sleepy Hollow, and they make waffles here. And they're good. They're really good waffles. I think you can get funnel cakes too. You can get sweet waffles with berries and stuff like that. Or you can, they also have waffle sandwiches with, I think right now, sometimes it changes, but I think right now it's like a fried chicken and waffle sandwich. So that is a really good place to stop for like brunch, or really any time of day that a waffle sounds good. So that's called Sleepy Hollow. That is a little bit around the corner from the Liberty Tree Tavern, like I said, near the Hall of Presidents, which is also in Liberty Square. Across from Hall of Presidents also, you're going to find a Christmas shop. And this is a shop that sells Disney Christmas ornaments of all sorts. Everything from ornaments in the shape of Mickey ears to beautiful glass ornaments. They will personalize a lot of the ornaments for you. And this is a cool souvenir if you want to bring something home that you're going to be able to use every year at Christmas. Also makes a good gift for people. Behind the Christmas shop is a place where you can have your portrait or caricature drawn. This is also a neat thing to do. I did this for the first time on our last trip, and I was just amazed how quickly she worked and what she came up with. It was really a neat experience. I'll get a picture of my caricature and put it on the show notes for this episode so you guys can see. It does take a little time. It's probably at least a half hour invested that you have to wait. So only do this if, it's a priority and you have time. But if you do have time, that is a really cool souvenir, and it's really a one-of-a-kind sort of thing that you can get here at Magic Kingdom. Okay, so enough about all of this sort of stuff in Liberty Square. The real attraction in my mind here in Liberty Square is the Haunted Mansion. So the Disney Haunted Mansion is a classic dark ride that also exists in some of the other Disney parks. The Haunted Mansion, I think, is a can't miss kind of attraction. And I really recommend that you either see it first thing in the morning or on a fast pass so that you're able to get in and check it out. Because I think if you go on the Haunted Mansion once, you're probably going to want to do it again. So that is a good one to do kind of early on your park day, because you may want to come back and ride again. Haunted Mansion is located, if we are in Liberty Square, looking at where you get onto Liberty Bell paddle wheel boat. The entrance to the Haunted Mansion is just kind of a little bit farther along the waterway. It would be to your right if you're looking at the Liberty Bell. And you just kind of walk around the edge of the waterway there, and that's the entrance to Haunted Mansion. After you ride the Haunted Mansion, you may want some souvenirs. There's a really cool souvenir shop called Memento Mori that's just as you exit out of the Haunted Mansion and you come back into Liberty Square. So if you haven't been on the Haunted Mansion yet and you still want to see the shop, as you're walking out of Liberty Square, just continuing past where the Liberty Bell is, kind of going around the waterway, you'll see the Memento Mori store right ahead of you. And this is a really cool shop if you like. Obviously, if you like Haunted Mansion, they have a lot of cool Haunted Mansion themed stuff here, but also like Halloween kind of themed stuff. It's a neat, very unique shop and worth walking into and checking out. So some of you guys might be wondering, where are the rides that you always equate with Disney parks, like Small World and Peter Pan. And those rides, well, you're in luck because now we're just about to enter their land. And all of these rides are in Fantasyland. Fantasyland is at if you were walking up Main Street, you could get here a number of different ways. But you could, if you walked right through the castle, you would end up in Fantasyland. So it's kind of at the very opposite end of the park from where the main gate is. We're going to enter Fantasyland through sort of the side entrance because we're going to come into it from Liberty Square. So once you pass that Memento Mori store, you're going to notice, again, a change in architecture. And now it's going to look like you are walking in a fairy tale. So Fantasyland has all the fairy tale style buildings, a lot of pastel colors, and of course, the fantasy type music, like music from some of the classic Disney movies and stuff like that. On your left, up on the hill, is Rapunzel's Tower. And right below Rapunzel's Tower, you're going to see a kind of an interesting building. It looks like, again, part of a fairy tale. This is actually a bathroom. I think it's kind of informally known as Rapunzel's bathrooms. But these are really nice. And it's actually kind of a cool little corner of Fantasyland. So this is kind of your entrance to Fantasyland, and we're going to keep walking. And as we move a little more into Fantasyland, a couple of big attractions, the big classics are going to be here. On your right is the Peter Pan ride. On your left is going to be It's a Small World. These are both rides that most everybody tries to hit when they come to Magic Kingdom. The Small World ride usually doesn't have much of a wait, but the Peter Pan ride can get a long line pretty early in the day. So if you really want to ride Peter Pan, the best strategy is to either get there right when the park opens and make this one of your first stops, or get a fast pass because it's a nice ride, but really you can easily end up with a 45-minute wait here at Peter Pan, and I personally don't think it's really worth that. So this is definitely one of those rides you might want to use some strategy to figure out how to avoid the crowds. And I talked about making fast pass reservations in yesterday's episode, which was day 4 of this series. That's episode 12 of the Go Informed podcast. So if you are wondering about how to make these reservations and why and when and all that stuff, hop back over to the last episode and you can give that a listen and get some more information about that. We're going to keep walking now past Peter Pan. At this point, the castle, the back side of the castle has come into view, and it's really just as beautiful from the back. There is a classic carousel here that you can ride. Also in the castle is a restaurant called Cinderella's Royal Table, where you can have a meal with the princesses in the castle. It's super cool, and it is super popular. Another reason to listen to the last episode, because dining reservations are another thing if you want to visit a restaurant like that you really got to plan for. But you don't have to have a reservation just to walk around in this part of Fantasyland and explore, the parts of the castle that you can see and make sure and get lots of pictures. You can also meet princesses in a few spots here in Fantasyland. So if meeting the princesses is a priority for you, take a look at the map, take a look online. This is another point where I should mention getting a good guidebook is really helpful, because you can get a sense of where you can do things like meet the princesses. The guidebook, I swear they don't sponsor this podcast, but maybe they should. The guidebook that I recommend is the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. You can find it almost anywhere. I will put an Amazon link in the show notes. So if you want to click on that and look at it over at Amazon, you can. That's going to give you information about every aspect of your trip, but it does give really detailed information about all the attractions, including things like character meet and greets, and can really help you plan for stuff like that. And since this series of episodes is all about kind of getting a sense of what you need to plan for, that's my little plug for getting a guidebook and using that to supplement whatever other kind of research and planning that you're doing. Okay, so now we're going to actually pass the carousel. And we're going to head, we're still in Fantasyland. So Fantasyland is, I would say, covers the most ground and certainly has the most attractions of any of the lands here in Magic Kingdom. There are a lot of different rides and attractions that you can see in Fantasyland. So I'm just going to kind of give you a few of them, but definitely, check it out. There's a lot of stuff to see here. In front of us, after we pass the carousel, actually probably even before we pass it, we're going to see the mountain, which is the mountain that the Seven Dwarfs have their mine in. And this is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride. This is a really cool ride. It's fairly new. It is a dark ride and a roller coaster both. And the roller coaster is not extreme. I took my mother on it and she isn't a roller coaster person and she was fine. So most everybody can ride the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride. The roller coaster part is outside and the dark ride, obviously that's inside. The dark ride part takes you through the Seven Dwarfs mine and it's really beautiful. The music, of course, is great. And the view when you go outside, and that part of the ride, especially at night, is really pretty. The Mine Train is a very popular ride. This is another one of those ones where you want to have some strategy and know ahead of time if this is something you want to do so you can figure out how to make that happen. You can wait in a very long line if you don't make some plans to try to avoid that. And, when I talk about getting ready for a trip and your first day in the parks on those last 2 episodes of this series, I'll be talking about some of those strategies that you can use to avoid some of those lines and then enjoy the rides more. So we're not going on the Seven Dwarfs ride right now. We're going to keep walking past the Mine Train. We're going to kind of go down a path that takes us past the Little Mermaid ride. And it's also going to take us past the Beast Castle and the Be Our Guest restaurant. It's a Beauty and the Beast themed restaurant. And this is a really fun place to go for, they do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We like it for breakfast. And actually, on a day when the park is opening at 9 o'clock and doesn't have any extra magic hours or anything like that, you can make an 8 o'clock breakfast reservation at Be Our Guest, have breakfast, and be in the park before the crowds even get in there and be first in line for that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So Be Our Guest restaurant, not only is the food's pretty good, the theming is awesome. There's a room with it has the rose from the movie, how the rose petals are sort of falling off. That's in one of the rooms. One of the other rooms, it looks like it's snowing outside. It's very well done. And so this is a restaurant you may want to have on your radar. You do need reservations any time of day. I mean, you can walk up and try to get in, but it can get busy. So this is another one that you may want to make a reservation for. How are you guys doing? This is a big place, isn't it? One of the things that I'm going to talk about when we talk about getting ready for your trip is getting ready to be on your feet for this long and the distances you're going to walk. Because as I think you're probably getting an idea, there is a lot of ground to cover here in these parks. And Magic Kingdom is actually one of the smaller parks at Disney World. So lots to see and do here, and definitely make times to take breaks and have snacks and give yourself some time to sort of keep your energy level high enough that you can enjoy things and not get worn out there's even more of Fantasyland still in front of us here, actually. So we're going to keep walking past Be Our Guest. You can also go into Gaston's Tavern. Gaston has a little restaurant here. It's like a quick serve sort of restaurant, and it's Gaston's Tavern, and it does have a chandelier made of antlers. There's a lot of antlers involved in his decorating, as you may know, and they did a good job of incorporating that in the Gaston's Tavern. So that's a fun place just to, even if you just poke your head in and check it out. Walking farther into this end of Fantasyland, we're going to come into sort of a circus theme part of it. And this is, it's designed for the littler kids. I mean, all of Fantasyland obviously is going to appeal to little kids, but this part of Fantasyland is probably more going to only appeal to little kids. There's a little roller coaster here. There's a splash pad kind of place where kids can splash around in a fountain. And it's very cute. And it is a place that you may want to walk in and check out, even if you don't have little ones. And if you do have little ones, you're probably going to spend quite a bit of time in here. There is a really cool store here. The store is called Big Top Souvenirs, and it's in like a big top. Like, again, this is circus themed. And this is another really big souvenir shop that's got all kinds of Disney stuff inside. And by the time you've walked all the way to this end of the park, if it's the summertime, you're probably going to be really hot. So this is a good place to stop and cool down for a few minutes here at the Big Top. So that's just a notable thing. Now, right past the Big Top, or right in that same little area, that is where we're going to find the Fantasyland train station. There are 3 stops on the Disney World Railroad, and this would be the second stop after you get on at Main Street. So the train, you can get on and off it at any of the stops, but if you get on at Main Street, it's going to go in a loop. So it's going to go to Frontierland and then Fantasyland and then back to Main Street. So if you're really tired and you just want to get back to the front of the park now, then hop on the train here in Fantasyland. It will take you on a nice leisurely ride. You can get off your feet for a few minutes and it'll take you back to Main Street. We're not going to get on the train. We're still walking, you guys. We are going to head to Tomorrowland next, and I'm going to show you a shortcut. Before I show you the shortcut, I just want to point out one other attraction in Fantasyland that we didn't pass. If you just kept going around the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, you would find this ride, and it's the Mad Tea Party ride, which is the classic teacups and saucers ride. So if that is something you want to do, and I also Dumbo's down there too. So there's a couple of those other still classic rides I didn't even mention. You can go back into Fantasyland and you could spend all day in Fantasyland really if you wanted to. So you can go back there later. Right now, we're all going to go to Tomorrowland. So from the train station, we've walked all the way to the Fantasyland train station. Okay, so we're standing at the train station. If we're looking at where you would get on the train, we're going to pivot about 90 degrees, and there's a walking path here. It's kind of the entrance to the path. It's kind of between the train station and the little roller coaster. The roller coaster is called the Barnstormer. We're going to go walk so that the Barnstormer is on our right and the train tracks is on our left. This little path, and it is on the map, you'll see it if you look at the park map. This little path kind of follows along the same direction as the train tracks. And it's not a wide path, but like hardly anybody goes this way. So even though it's kind of a small little narrow path, you're not going to see very many people, and it feels really nice to get out of the crowd. Also, it is kind of a shortcut to get down into Tomorrowland, especially if your next stop is Space Mountain, because we are going to go right past Space Mountain this way. In fact, as soon as even when you're at the Fantasyland train station, you're going to be able to see Space Mountain, and that's the direction we're heading. So as we walk along here, to our right, after we pass the roller coaster, there's some green space. And then there is the Tomorrowland Speedway, which is it's like a go-kart path, like a go-kart racetrack sort of. And that's very fun. It's definitely one of those throwback attractions from way back. Kids love doing this. The lines aren't always very long either. So hopefully you can hop down there and drive around the Tomorrow Speedway when you're here in Tomorrowland. As we get to the end of the path, that's where the entrance to Space Mountain is. So I think everybody knows about Space Mountain. It's a roller coaster in the dark. It is pretty thrilling. It's really, really fun if you like roller coasters. And here it is right here. So if you want to ride on Space Mountain, this is where you're going to go. If Space Mountain seems a little bit too intense for you, or maybe it just isn't what you're going to do right now, you want to get off your feet for a few minutes, there's a couple of other much more sedate attractions here in Tomorrowland. One of them is the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover ride. The People Mover ride is like an open air tram that runs above Tomorrowland, and it actually goes inside some of the buildings in Tomorrowland, which is pretty neat. It's not fast. You can get up high, you get some cool views, and you get off your feet for a little while. And it's one of those classic rides that even though it's not going to drop you in circles in the dark or anything like that, it's a fun little diversion. It doesn't usually have a long line. Even if the line looks long, it moves really fast. So if you get to Tomorrowland and you're not sure what to do, go ride the People Mover, and it kind of gives you a tour of Tomorrowland. So then you'll know what else there is to do here. One of the cool things about the People Mover is that it actually goes into the Space Mountain building. And one time we were on the People Mover and it went into the Space Mountain building and the lights were on in there, and we got to see what Space Mountain looks like with the lights on. That was super cool. And I actually got a little bit of video of it, and it's on my Facebook. It's on the Go Informed Net Facebook page somewhere. I will try to dig it up and repost it over there, and I'll put it in the show notes so that you can see if you want to. It's kind of a spoiler alert. If you don't want to see what Space Mountain looks like in the light, then I guess don't watch it. But you can see what the People Mover looks like too if you check out this video. So I'll find a way to get that into the show notes. And again, that's at goinform.net/13 is where you'll find the show notes. Okay, so enough about that. Other things that you can do here in Tomorrowland, the Carousel of Progress. It's this big round building. It's totally mysterious if you don't know anything about it, because all it says is Carousel of Progress. There's no windows or anything. It's a theater where it's round and the seats rotate around the stage. So it takes you to 4 different points of time in history. And instead of like the audience staying in one place and the stage rotating to show you a new scene, in the Carousel of Progress, the audience rotates and the stage stays in one place. So this was super cutting edge back in the 60s when they first designed the Carousel of Progress. And there's just something super nostalgic about this ride. For many of us, it really harkens back to Walt Disney's time, and the animatronic figures and that kind of thing are really pretty impressive. And the main thing about the Carousel of Progress is that it's like 20 minutes long. Get in there like a movie theater. You sit down. It's air conditioned. It's not raining in there like it might be outside. So Carousel of Progress, great place to take a break. see some Disney history, really, in terms of the type of thing that you would have seen back in the early days of Disneyland. And also it's just kind of fun. So if you have some time and you're trying to get out of the weather, or if the rest of your party went on the Space Mountain and you don't know what you're going to do right now, go check out Carousel of Progress. I really think every visitor to the Magic Kingdom really ought to see this. A few other things that we have here in Tomorrowland. There is a Monsters, Inc. themed attraction. There's a Buzz Lightyear attraction. There's also a really big quick service restaurant here called Cosmic Rays, where you can get things like pizza and burgers. So kind of your traditional kind of fast food sort of stuff. You can almost always get a table in Cosmic Rays, no matter if it's right in the middle of dinner time. So that's a good place to go if you're looking for that kind of food in Magic Kingdom. Cosmic Rays is a good choice. So we're going to actually walk back now towards the hub because, believe it or not, our tour's almost over. We're going to walk past the Monsters, Inc. ride. You'll see that there's a path and it's going to lead right out towards the castle and towards the hub. So as we walk out this way, we're going to cross over a bridge. We're going to have a beautiful view of the castle, another lovely angle, especially at night when the castle's lit. It's a great spot for pictures. And walk right to the middle of the hub. There's a statue here in the middle of the hub in front of the castle called the Partners statue. It's a statue of Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse. And it's meant to commemorate all of the magic that was created out of that partnership, and then that still carries forward even now into the parks. You can get a picture with that statue for sure. Also here in the hub, if by now it's night, you might want to be considering where you'd like to stand to watch the fireworks. There's a spectacular fireworks display at the castle pretty much every single night, at least once a night. Not only are there fireworks, but there are images projected onto the castle. It is really mind-blowing, actually. It's really an amazing show. So the hub is where you would want to be if you want to watch the fireworks. Other things I didn't mention, there are parades at Magic Kingdom all the time. There's usually a big afternoon parade, but sometimes there's nighttime parades. There's stuff going on all day long where there's little shows in front of the castle, or little kind of like mini parades that go up and down Main Street. So these are all other things that you can do here in Magic Kingdom too. At this point, I think I'm going to leave you guys. I've got to get ready for our tour tomorrow, which is at Epcot. You can go back and think about and revisit any of the places we talked about here, and start thinking about where you'd like to go when you visit Magic Kingdom. And again, if you want to get the show notes, I'm going to put links to anything I think is relevant that might help you with planning and getting ready to go to Magic Kingdom. I'll put all that in the show notes over at goinform.net/13. And if you're listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating or review of the podcast. All you have to do is just scroll down to the bottom of where you're looking at the podcast in your app, and you should see a spot where you can give a star rating and leave a review, or just click. There's a place where you can click and it'll say leave a review. That is super helpful to the podcast. It helps other people find me. And plus, I love to hear from you guys. So let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how you enjoyed this episode. If you want to say like what your favorite thing in Magic Kingdom is, you could put that there. You can also leave comments on the website at the show notes site. You can also leave me comments there. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the tour today. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at the gate at Epcot, and I hope you have a magical vacation.